Let's take some viewer comments in this video. I'm going to go through a few of the comments in my YouTube videos for the past couple of weeks. We're going to dive into these comments. I'm going to respond to them up next. Hey everybody, welcome aboard to another episode of Orange Grove 55. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this latest episode of OD 55. So in this video, I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of go through the comments that I get on all my videos, and I picked a few of the comments from the past few recent videos, and I kind of want to respond to those in video form because I think they were really fantastic comments. Even though, I don't agree necessarily with each comment, they were still nonetheless fantastic comments. So let's dive right in. Let's get into it. All right. So Charles says third park be too close to homes and people would bitch of the noise. Charles. Okay. So Charles, thank you so much for the comments, sir. I really do appreciate it. Now, this has been a issue for Disneyland Resort for a very long time. Okay. And a lot of people kind of echo Charles' sentiment that we have to be very cognizant, very aware of the neighbors, the residential, even the businesses that border Disneyland Resort. And for me personally, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. Look, and I know that sounds really cold-hearted and I'm lacking empathy or whatever you want to call it. I have no sympathy. Look, Disneyland has been in Anaheim in that spot for 65 plus years. If you decide to move next door to Disneyland Resort, you know what you're getting yourself into. Okay. You know what you're getting yourself into. It's like moving next door to a McDonald's and then complaining every single day that every time you walk outside your house, it smells like hamburgers. Well, no one told you to move next door to a McDonald's, right? Disneyland Resort has been there for 65 plus years. Very few residents that are living there right now were there before the park opened. Okay. So if you're going to move next door to Disneyland Resort, the noise, as Charles said, and other elements of a major resort being there are part and parcel. It comes with the territory. If you're going to move next door to one of the most famous landmarks in the world, you're going to have to deal with noise. You're going to have to deal with traffic and congestion. That comes with moving next door to Disneyland. Okay. California is a big state. You didn't have to move a block away from Disneyland. So again, Charles, look, I understand what you're trying to say here in regards to a third park coming into the Disneyland Resort. But I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for the residents or the businesses in that area. They know what they're getting themselves into. The park has been there for 65 plus years. Okay. This isn't like a big shock. You're going to move next to Disneyland. You're going to have noise. You're going to have fireworks. You're going to have traffic. If you don't like those things, then don't move next door to Disneyland. Like I said, California is a big state. You don't have to move within a mile of Disneyland. There's a lot of options out there. So yeah, Charles, I understand what you're trying to say here, man. But like in all honesty, Disneyland has been there for a long time. And I think they got to do what they got to do. And I think if you don't like the noise or you don't like the congestion, then you don't move next door to Disneyland. Okay. Now it would be a completely different situation if the residents were there and then Disney moved in, right? Because they didn't sign up for that. But Disneyland has been there for a long time. It's been very much established. So the residents know exactly what they're getting themselves into. So again, look, you don't like the noise and you shouldn't have moved there in the first place. Just my opinion. Charles, thank you, brother, for the comment. I really do appreciate it. And the next comment comes from High Tide. And High Tide commented and said, look, I have no opinion about Bob Chapek one way or the other, but are you familiar with the Financial Times? The article may have grown out of a PR effort by Chapek's team. So what did you learn from the article? What Chapek wants you to think? Okay, so what High Tide's referring to is the video I made yesterday, link up above, in regards to this latest Financial Times article on Bob Chapek. Here's my thing, High Tide. Every time there's a negative article about Bob Chapek, I never see your kind of comments, not from you specifically. I'm not like singling you out. Okay. I want to make that very clear, but I don't see comments on my channel about like the validity of the source. So if there's a Variety article slamming Chapek for day and date releases, I never get comments about, well, do we know the ulterior motive of Variety? I don't know. Is it a PR thing from the theater industry? We don't know. I never hear that. Anything negative about Bob Chapek is taken at face value. Boom, must be true. I don't like Bob Chapek, so therefore every article about Bob Chapek must be 100% true. But then I drop videos being fair to Bob Chapek, one of the few content creators out there in this space that's actually giving Bob Chapek a fair shake. And every time I drop a video that questions things and doesn't paint Bob Chapek as the mustache twirling bad guy, I get a lot of comments like yours, High Tide. No disrespect, but I do. I get a lot of comments about, well, the source and can we trust them? And it's just a Chapek doing a PR thing. I never hear that when it's a negative Chapek thing. Never. There's never this kind of like second guessing. So could this have been a PR move by Chapek? Absolutely. There's no doubt. And you know what? Guess what, High Tide? The hit pieces that the trades do, like Variety and Hollywood Reporter, are probably PR pieces for the theater industry trying to push theatrical exclusive windows. Okay, the PR goes both ways, buddy. It goes both ways. But that doesn't mean that a lot of the stuff in this article are not true. Alan Horn, who's a respected member in the Hollywood industry, right? He did amazing things for Disney. He was a studio head for many, many years. He said in that Financial Times article that it was Bob Iger who handpicked Bob Chapek. Those are the kind of things that we saw in this article, stuff that you really can't dispute, things coming out of the mouths of people that are very much connected to the situation. So yes, it might have been a PR move by Team Chapek, but that doesn't mean that a lot of the stuff in that article are still not factual. I think a lot of it was. Absolutely. Because you know what? Unlike the hit pieces that you see from a lot of the trades, this particular site, Financial Times, actually cited their sources, and their sources were airtight. You can't get a much better source than Alan Horn. Okay, you can't get a much better source than Alan Horn. And a lot of the hit pieces on Chapek don't have that kind of sourcing. A lot of the hit pieces on Chapek are sources close to the situation, anonymous sources, people within Disney, very vague. But this Financial Times article cited people very close to Bob Iger and very close to Bob Chapek. That says a lot, my friend. That says a lot. So no, again, it could be a PR piece, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. And where are all the people with the negative Chapek articles chiming in saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't know if Variety or the Hollywood Reporter, if their sources are 100% credible. Is this just a PR piece for the theater industry or the anti-Chapek people? Never hear that. It's only when it's a positive Chapek thing that suddenly alarm bells go off and it's suspect. Okay, so anyway, I just want to kind of address that. Look, every article has the possibility of having an agenda, this one included. But there were a lot of airtight sourcing in this article that I think separates it from a lot of other articles we've seen in the past. A lot of hit pieces. The sourcing on this, I mean, you can't get much better than Alan Horn, my friend. You can't get much better than Alan Horn. He's very close to the situation, to say the least. It's much better than an anonymous source close to Disney says, right? Much better. But High Tide, I do appreciate you watching my video, brother. And I do appreciate the comment. Thank you so, so much. And the next comment comes from Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster is saying, by the way, Cookie Monster, I gotta say, I've been a big fan of Cookie Monster for a very long time. I love Cookie Monster. But Cookie Monster says, your argument doesn't hold up at all. What if Universal Studios theme park recreated the Harry Potter universe, but decided to completely ditch any of the characters and locations in the very successful and likable Harry Potter movies and books? People wouldn't pay money to visit that place. And this is why the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser is already failing months before opening and causing even the wealthiest patrons to cancel their trip there. Okay, so this was in regards to a video I made recently saying that Disney does not need to recreate the movies brick by brick. Okay, it works for some cases. Wizarding World, it worked for Universal. They recreated the Harry Potter stuff brick by brick, and you can experience it as you are walking into the movie. But that doesn't mean that Disney, and I stand by Cookie Monster, I stand by my opinion, Disney does not need to recreate the movie experience brick by brick exactly for it to be a success. And in fact, the history shows that Disney has never really done that, or not never, I shouldn't say never, but rarely done that. And especially when it comes to Lucasfilm. When Star Tours opened in the mid 80s or mid to late 80s, a lot of the stuff in Star Tours had nothing to do with the movies. Your captain was an all-new character, Captain Rex, your pilot. The Star Speeder 3000 was an all-new ship. You weren't in an X-Wing with Luke Skywalker as your pilot. None of that. Yeah, there were elements that from the movies, like the Force Moon of Endor and things like that. But for the most part, a lot of it was new stuff made for the attraction. Same goes for Indiana Jones Adventure. They didn't recreate the Temple of Doom. They made their own temple with the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. Yes, there were elements within the attraction, like the giant boulder and what have you, that was very reminiscent of the films, but they didn't recreate everything verbatim. Okay, and those rides, Indiana Jones Adventure and Star Tours, were still wildly successful, despite the fact that they didn't replicate the movies verbatim. Now, Disney and Lucasfilm is continuing that tradition with Galaxy's Edge. Okay, now you kind of bring up kind of like, I mean, kind of a straw man argument here when you say, but decided to completely ditch any of the characters and locations from the movies. Well, Star Wars doesn't do that either. They didn't completely ditch the characters from the movies. Chewbacca is very prevalent in Galaxy's Edge. So is R2-D2. Yoda plays a huge part in the lightsaber experience in the land. And you can take a picture in front of the gigantic Millennium Falcon, which was also in the original trilogy. They also have representation from the prequels. If you go into Ronto's Roasters, you see one of the giant pod racing engines cooking the meat. For the younger Star Wars fans that maybe grew up on like Star Wars Rebels and what have you, you have Hondo in the Smuggler's Run attraction. So there's a lot, all the eras of Star Wars is represented in Batuu, and a lot of that carries over into the Galactic Starcruiser. So to kind of say like to completely ditch the characters and locations, that's just not true, Cookie Monster. They don't completely ditch anything. They don't completely ditch anything, just like they didn't completely ditch Indiana Jones when it comes to the Indiana Jones Adventure, just like they didn't completely ditch Star Wars when it comes to the Star Tours attraction. Just because you're creating new stuff doesn't mean it's completely ditching it. You know, they're creating new stories, maybe new environments, but they're sprinkling in stuff that you remember. And they've been doing this for a long time. This is not a Bob Chapek thing. This is not a Bob Iger thing. They've been doing it since Star Tours in the 80s. Okay, in the 80s. So no, I don't think they've completely ditched the Star Wars characters that are popular. You can visit Chewie and R2 and Yoda at Galaxy's Edge, and you can visit. I've seen the concept art for Galactic Starcruiser. Chewie's there. I'm sure R2 and Yoda and all of them will be there too, just like they are in Galaxy's Edge. So I think that you can create something. Look, the problem with the Galactic Starcruiser, which I'm not a fan of, I'm very claustrophobic, Cookie Monster. I am very claustrophobic. I'm not going to, I don't care if it was $100 a night. I'm not going on that Galactic Starcruiser. Okay, I don't like being confined into like a small box. Okay, I'm claustrophobic. I won't even get in an elevator, let alone that Starcruiser for 3 days. But you know, that's why I won't go on it. It doesn't seem appealing to me. Okay, but it's not because they don't replicate the movies exactly. And most fans don't have that problem either. It's not that they're not replicating the movies exactly. It's that the energy and the vibe doesn't feel like Star Wars. It doesn't have to recreate the movies, but it still has to feel like a Star Wars experience. And a lot of the Galactic Starcruiser does not feel like a Star Wars experience. And that's the problem. It's not that they're not recreating Coruscant or recreating Tatooine. It's that the energy and the aesthetics of the cruiser does not look like Star Wars. That's the problem. We've seen Star Wars attractions with Star Tours in the mid to late 80s that didn't replicate the movies exactly and still did very well. You don't need to do that. It's hogwash. It's complete baloney, man. I'm sorry. I disagree with you. You don't need to recreate things. It worked for Universal. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way for everything. You know? So just my opinion, Cookie Monster. Thank you so much for watching. I also do appreciate you commenting on the video. But what does everyone at home think in regards to the Galactic Starcruiser, in regards to just everything we discussed today, in regards to a third park and the neighbors surrounding Anaheim and just everything? Just kind of comment below. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you guys. And keep in mind that when you comment down below, I might use it in a future video. You know, so just comment below with your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree with me. If you disagree with me, you have a home here on OG55. I welcome all opinions here. Just be civil. That's all I ask. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for supporting Orange Grove 55 over the last 5 years. You've all been fantastic. I love you. And as always, have a wonderful day.